once again to Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince, today's question comes from holtsanders, who asks, do villains have to be evil?
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about supervillains and whether or not evil is a prerequisite for being a supervillain. Or for being, he says villain, so I suppose that we're talking about maybe in comics or the classical sense of the word, villains. So first, Vince, let's you and I define what we would say evil is. Let's define evil, because that's the hard part.
Yeah, I think evil can manifest its way or manifest itself in different ways, and I mean, could there be such a thing as intentional evil and unintentional evil?
Oh, sure. I think so. I think so.
So therefore, if there is a possible thing as something that is unintentionally evil, that would mean that the perpetrator of that evil is doing something evil without realizing it, and therefore would be evil?
There's certainly been a push in the last several years, and I'd say especially this last decade, to try to make villains more humanized, more sympathetic characters. And to make a villain a more sympathetic character, the first step, usually, very often, is to have that character not consider himself a villain. In the comic book world, a lot of times you actually hear superheroes and supervillains talking in the same terms we talk about them, which I find interesting. The idea that in the context of a story, people would still say villain. To call yourself a villain, you are saying I'm the bad guy, I'm the antagonist.
Here's my black hat. Please
right.
Kill me at the end of the story.
But Vince, name me some characters who are villains who don't consider themselves so.
Well, the first one that pops in mind is automatically Magneto.
Magneto, me too.
I mean, and I do realize that back in the day they were the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Mm-hmm. So that's why that's kind of an interesting thing there. It shows the progression of time and space. I'm kidding.
But I'd say even in the context of the comic book world where it's just evil and villain were a word being thrown around, I think still the idea was that Magneto thought that his species was superior and he felt threatened and therefore he did bad things. But especially more recent Magneto doesn't consider himself to be the bad guy. It's the things that he does that makes him so.
The interesting thing is that. Is that we can apply our own morality onto Magneto, and that makes him evil. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because
sure.
He will kill a human, because to him a human is nothing. A human is effectively an animal.
But he's going to pause before he kills a mutant very often.
Yeah, I mean if he kills a mutant, he's killing his own kind. If he were to kill a human, it'd be like killing a dog. I mean, well, that kind of sucks.
Not entirely. Yeah. I mean, Magneto is a topic you could go on for hours about.
Yeah, I'm not sure I necessarily believe what I'm saying right here. I'm just
Oh, I see what you mean.
Thinking out loud.
How about just jumping around a little bit? How about Ra's al Ghul?
Well,
especially Batman Begins Ra's al Ghul,
yeah,
right?
I was going to say, if we look at him in terms of not the Dark Knight, but the Begins film, he's definitely doing some vigilante-type activities. Mm-hmm. Here's a guy that thinks he's doing effectively what Batman's doing, only he's doing it better in his eyes.
Mm-hmm. And in the eyes of the viewers of watching the movie, he's the bad guy because he does it in a morally reprehensible way.
Yeah, which is funny because you watch Punisher Warzone and they do exactly the same thing, where he's an evil dude killing evil people.
But we're supposed to be rooting for him.
Yeah.
See, it all depends on the context of the story, doesn't it?
And all the characters say, "You're doing a good thing, Mr. Punisher." No, you're not. Anyway,
can I jump outside of comics for a second? I know that I think you still have not seen this film, but Khan from Star Trek is certainly this way. Khan, no, it's cool. We'll get there. I'll show it to you. But I did want to mention Khan because a lot of the reasons that people like Khan so much is because here's a guy who really believes in the betterment of mankind, and once again he's going about it in all the wrong way. He was the biggest proponent of eugenics during the eugenics wars in Star Trek, and so he believed in genetically modifying people to try to make a more superior race. We got a little bit of a Mysterio, or not Mysterio, that's different. We got a little bit of a Magneto thing going on there as well. You know, Magneto's whole plot in the first X-Men film was turn all the humans into mutants so that now there's not a difference. It wasn't that he wanted to see all the humans die, although that is preferable for him to what they had. But he wanted, he wanted everybody, if possible, to be mutants because he thought that was better than humanity. Khan had exactly the same thing. You know, he was genetically superior because he was engineered that way, and he wanted people to have the right to genetically engineer more people to be that way.
These villains are effectively the Inquisition.
That's
kind of cool.
Yeah,
you know,
that's interesting.
Whenever I would think of Magneto, I would think of him in terms of Hitler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's so ironic considering his background.
Yeah, that's true. But I'd almost say it's a better way to look at him in terms of the Inquisition. I mean, trying to turn somebody your way.
Did Hitler consider himself to be, evil?
Well, probably not.
I'm sure he didn't.
He considered himself the moral authority.
When you're powerful enough, you can create your own morality and make people follow you, and you can make yourself believe anything. And that's scary. And I would go as far as to say that is evil. But it is evil without knowing that it's evil. The person who's doing so. An absolutely fascinating topic.
Yeah, I will say that a person can be evil without realizing it.
Sure, absolutely.
I can say, but the question...
I think it's scarier.
Yeah, that's frightening. But and that's what Hitler was good at, was convincing people. I mean, the guy was a heck of a speaker. I was going to say other words, so I'm going to not say those words.
Well, because you can't say that all of his generals and all of the people who followed him were just naturally evil people. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a light switch where the German people at one point were nice, innocent people, and then at another point they were the bane of humanity. No, it was one guy who got a bunch of people to believe in this stuff. He was the ultimate brainwasher.
Oh yeah.
And I think that a lot of comics do this. Obviously, Red Skull was based on him.
Now my question here is, can a person do things that are evil, not realize that he's doing evil, but then not be evil himself? Because obviously...
and that's certainly where your classic redemption story comes from.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think a good example here would be Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
With Doc Ock.
Absolutely.
I mean, reason being, he doesn't realize what he's doing is evil. He's just trying to create what he considers the next step in technology. He's trying to help humanity, and he's doing all these things that are hurting people.
And it isn't until he goes too far that he realizes that what he's doing isn't working and he's hurting people.
And that's why we appreciate Dr. Octopus, at least in that movie.
Yeah, that's the reason he's a sympathetic character. And it's the reason that Sandman in 3 doesn't work, because I felt like Sandman is the dumbed down version of Dr. Octopus, where it almost seemed like the writers of that film were saying, okay, so we have created the model for the sympathetic villain. The sympathetic villain is someone who does bad things for good reasons. That's not entirely accurate. It's a little bit more complicated than that. And what Dr. Octopus had was more complicated than that. So then when we got to Sandman, we were supposed to find him sympathetic because, well, he stole things and he did bad stuff because he had a daughter that he wanted to, come back to, and things like that. You know what I mean? His daughter was sick, and so then it was okay. Well, no. You know what I mean? It was oversimplified at that point.
Yeah, and it could have been. It could have worked.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you look at the movie John Q, it worked in that context. So why couldn't it have worked for Sandman? Well, it didn't work for Sandman because we didn't have enough time to explore Sandman. We had to focus on Venom and Pseudo-Goblin. I forget what they call him.
Right.
And
New Goblin.
New Goblin.
New Goblin.
That works, I suppose.
I don't think you can date yourself any more, by the way, than having a person's superhero or supervillain alias in a film be New. And then 30 years later, well, not anymore.
New Goblin number 4, Goblin again.
So, you know, you got your... We're mostly talking about really serious type villains, you know what I mean? You know, and I think generally speaking, your very serious villains are either, you know, the ones that we really buy as being evil are either going to be, like you said, evil without realizing it, or totally psychotic to the point of embracing that evil, and that's when you get into people like Two-Face and the Joker, right? Where you know, Two-Face embraces it because he's got this multiple personality thing. He doesn't know what else to do with it, and the Joker embraces it because of this idea of chaos and that kind of thing. You know, those are your really serious ones. You got the ones that either are psychotic or the ones who have put themselves in a place of being morally ambiguous. Then you got the really silly ones who just go, "I'm evil," and like that idea, and that can be fun, and I like that in a campy sense.
And you see all those people in the Tick.
And you get Mojo Jojo. In fact, let's talk about Mojo Jojo for a minute, because I want to mention that. Are you anything like a Powerpuff Girl fan?
I'm not against it. It's
okay,
funny.
all right. I do want to mention Mojo Jojo for a second, and a quick spoiler alert, because I'm going to mention the last episode of the show that they made, and I mean this is the final episode of the series.
It was a good show. You should probably watch it.
Was made 10 years after the show started. So they did 6 seasons, then they quit. Then when they put out a new when they put out a box set of the entire series, they came back and did one more episode of the show. And I think maybe you've seen that with me. I don't remember. But anyway, the reason I want to bring this up is because Mojo Jojo really is one of those villains where he's like, he's like, I'm evil, I want to rule the world, blah blah blah, and he doesn't really have any good reasons. He's just, and it's funny. Then the movie gives him a backstory where he's like jaded and stuff, and so then he has like reasons, and it's still funny motivations, but he's got reasons. And then in that last episode they made, they set it up so that Mojo Jojo finally does rule the world, and then it's actually utopia, and that was hilarious, like absolutely brilliant. Because then he's not really evil. I want the world to be a certain way. I know how to make it better, and the only way I can make it better is to take it over myself and show you. I think Dr. Doom is the same way.
Mm-hmm. Now, got a question, because maybe I'm remembering this wrong.
Sure.
After Mojo Jojo takes over the world and makes it a utopia, doesn't he sit there and get bored and then go nuts for a while and start destroying things?
Yeah, that was the end of it.
And
it's a cartoon, and that did kind of, and that certainly took something out of it for me. But
it didn't take something out of it for me. What it showed is that this guy could not get rid of his true colors. He spent so much time being a villain that he is a villain.
Regardless of the fact that he does maybe have some compassion somewhere.
He may have at one point been this incredibly benevolent guy, but now he's spent all of his time in benevolence.
Talks about wanting to create his make the world a better place machine.
Done.
Well, I don't know. I think we're all out of time. I don't know how. Yeah. I don't know if we've explored this topic enough.
Well, you want to lay down just like a final thought here?
Sure, go ahead.
I think that can a villain be something other than evil? I would say generally a villain is evil. Generally. But I do think in the cases of things
different degrees, and depends on what they do. Not every villain kills people. Some villains are just, trying to survive or whatever, I guess. But,
okay. Yeah.
But yes, I agree.
Generally, a villain in the terms of how we're thinking of a villain is an evil guy. But I do think that there is a possibility to where a person is not evil. They just have a life that's led them astray. Mm-hmm. So, in the case of Dr. Octopus and Spidey 2.
Well, I'm not going to repeat you. That's exactly where I come down on it as well. What do you think? Can you be a supervillain and not be evil? Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Also, give us any ideas that you might have for future videos. We got lots of fun ideas in the queue already, and we're always looking for more. Also, if you're ever in the Kansas City area, make sure to check out Pop Culture Comics on 87th Street in Overland Park, Kansas. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.
See you next time.